All right, hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan, Director of Marketing at Sport Clips Haircuts, and this is a very exciting episode of the Hall of Fame podcast we have for you today. We are kicking off the 2019 Help a Hero time period, and for those of you that are part of Sport Clips, you probably know what this is. Those of you that are not, that may be tuning in, Help a Hero is our scholarship foundation that we partnered with the VFW, Veterans of Foreign War, and we raise funds to give scholarships to military members, most of whom are transitioning from military service to the civilian workforce, and so we have scholarships available for them to go and kind of get cross-trained. And last year, if I'm remembering right, I think we raised $1.5 million. Don't quote me on that, but I feel that's the right number. And over the course of its history, the Help a Hero history, I believe the number's around $6 million has been raised. So stylists across the country, stores, team members, team leaders, and even Sport Clips headquarters with some matching dollars have been raising money for this worthy cause. And I try to, every Help a Hero cycle, sit down with a few people that have been impacted by Help a Hero, and so this year is no exception. I have a very special guest today. I think everyone is going to be jazzed to hear from her. So why don't we do this first? Why don't you tell me, I don't need your serial number, but why don't you tell me your name and your rank and branch of service and all that kind of fun stuff. Who are you?
I'm Jennifer Richard, but I go by Jen. Right.
Not Jenny on the block, as I found when I met her, so my apologies there.
I am in the Army Reserves. I've served in the Army Reserves for about 6 years now.
Okay.
I'm currently a sergeant, but I am possibly going to go to OCS next year if I get selected on the board.
Okay.
What was your third question?
Third question. No, I was just basically trying to get to know. Why don't you tell me a little bit about you, your family, and all that kind of stuff? You can even name your cats if you want. In case they're listening.
I blame my husband for their cats, though. So I have a daughter. She's 13. Her name is Sunny Garcia. Her middle name is Danica, and I probably was really young, and so I thought it was cool to name her Sunny D.
Oh, I like that.
And then my husband's Jesse Richard. He's in the Air Force.
So how does that work? Army and Air Force, is there a little tension, or?
Well, I am a graduate from BSU. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh, no. Okay.
So there was some rivalry going on when Air Force played BSU about a week ago.
Who won?
BSU.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty close, though, until after about halftime we started.
By the way, have we said we're in Idaho? I don't know if I've even mentioned that yet.
Think
Okay, so my first time ever, so when she's saying BSU, she's talking about Boise State. We are recording this in Idaho. It's not technically cold here yet, at least if you're from Idaho, but if you're from California, it is. So I'm not being a wimp. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So you and your husband, he's in the Air Force. Is he in the reserves, you said, or
he's actually active duty?
Okay.
Yes.
He's active
duty. So we haven't figured that part out yet. It's
right. Yeah.
Like that time.
Okay. So you'll cross that bridge when you get. Does the military usually try to work that out? Or?
So as a reservist, I'm federally funded, so I'm able to kind of bounce around to different units.
Okay.
As long as I don't hold an obligation to that unit, I can kind of go wherever I need to go.
Yeah.
So it kind of works out.
So when he gets PCS'd to another base, how long has he been here?
So about 2 years now.
Okay. So. You're hoping obviously that when he moves somewhere else, they'll let you go and.
If not, I just will travel back to drill.
Make it happen.
Yeah, my commitment.
So, so what we're going to do in the course of this, I don't want to call it interview because we're just hanging out, right? It's a conversation. How about that? This is a conversation. Because I want stylists especially out there that are listening to this to kind of have a light bulb moment where they go, oh my gosh, that's what the Help a Hero Scholarship's all about. And it kind of comes full circle with your story. So you have a unique story. So I want to unpack that in a conversation and kind of the beginning, middle, and end, like where you've been, what you're up to now, what's coming down the road.
Okay.
So give me, if you can, you don't have to take me all the way back to, your little girl and all that kind of stuff, but take me back a little bit on your military career, or
Okay.
when you went in high school, what
Yeah.
drew you to the military,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff.
My best friend will actually get a kick out of this because Latasha Tyler is her name.
Okay,
And,
shout out. All right.
Yeah. So my first marriage, I was separated about sophomore year of college.
All right.
And my best friend Latasha kept trying to convince me that we needed to join the army together.
Oh wow.
And I was a cheerleader.
Was this after like a Vegas weekend or something?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't that
Okay.
type of girl.
But you were a cheerleader.
I was a cheerleader
Yeah.
in high school, and so I was very, I guess at the time, more girly-ish than I am.
So the
I
army
guess
had
now.
never really appealed to you.
So
Yeah.
I never correlated myself as a fit for the military,
Mhm.
and so she just kept trying to say like, oh, they're gonna pay for the rest of our college, we'll be debt-free from college, and I guess for me, I was very intimidated, and I kept telling her, no, I'm not going, and that's just not for me. And so one day I think we were at Boise State, and we were leaving because we both lived in Nampa. We drove there together, and she said, oh, let's go to the recruiter's office. He keeps telling me to bring you by and let him talk to you so you can learn more about the military.
And make an informed, educated decision.
Yeah. So I just remember like, fine.
Just to get her off your back, right?
Yeah. And she's like, we can do the buddy system. We can go to basic training together. And I'm like, what?
That's a thing.
It was all foreign to me. I knew nothing about the military. I knew nothing. And no one in my family had ever served in the military.
Asterisk. So. Didn't you have a little girl at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you're a mom of she's still in diapers.
About single mom.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was like, okay, so let's go down there and talk to the recruiter. We go down there. James Tharp, I still remember. I'm still friends with him to this day. And I remember we get down there, and he's like, oh, you're in college. You have this many credits already. Like, you're really smart. You'd be a perfect fit. And at the time, I was just like, okay, if I join though, I just want to be a 42 alpha. I just want to do paperwork. I just want to sit at a desk.
42 alpha.
Human resources.
Okay, all right. So you're not like shooting machine guns and firing rockets.
I just wanted to be simple. I just wanted to be, basic
clerical
secretary job in the military. And so I just remember he's like, yeah, you're gonna get this job, and I was like getting convinced because they were like, we'll give you $18,000 sign-on bonus, and then we're gonna give you $30,000 back in a student loan repayment. And at that time, he pretty much had me. So I was like, okay, great. Where do I sign?
Debt-free all of a sudden, right?
And I just remember calling my mom and talking to my daughter's father, like, hey, like I really want to do this. I really need your guys' help and support because even though I was separated from my daughter's father, we were still pretty good friends.
Yeah.
And so I just remember, they were like, what? Military? Like, are you sure?
This is foreign to them because it's not like something you'd grown up, playing G.I. Jane or anything.
Yeah, definitely. They just were super confused about my decisions. And I just remember finally, I kind of convinced them to back me up on this decision. And they were like, okay. So then I get to MEPS and stuff, and I'm like getting ready, and I'm super nervous and doing the whole in-processing thing. And I just remember I get to the office where they pick your job, and the guy's like, okay, we don't have any 42 alpha slots in Boise. And I was just distraught. I was like, what? No, there has to be, like, I'll wait. I don't care at this point. I want that job. He said, no, we have, because by then I'd taken the ASVAB, and I don't even remember my score, but he's like, you're really smart, and we're gonna give you a 25 Bravo position. You'll love it. You won't regret it. And I said, well, what is that? Information technology specialist.
Okay.
Like, what?
Computers.
I'm like super confused.
Yeah.
Like, I know nothing about computers. I can type. I can, do basic computer skills on a computer. But other than that, I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm not gonna do good in this job. And he said, oh, you'll be fine. So he finally convinced me after, I want to say I kind of fought hard for 30 minutes to convince him. I did not want to be a 40.
Did you resort to crying and trying that tactic?
I did not.
Okay.
But I was very.
That works on me when my
Yeah.
daughters or my wife. Yeah,
Like,
anyways.
please give him the puppy
Right,
eyes. Probably gave him the puppy eyes. Like, come on. Try to convince him, but there's no getting out of it. And he pretty much said, like, we can just drop this. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna let my recruiter down if I don't just go through with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you had a chance. You could have said, like,
Yeah,
you weren't committed yet. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in a sense, I could have backed out. But he's like, this is what you get. So I just went through with it, and it's probably the best decision of my life.
How come?
I think my IT background is kind of what started the foundation of who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beginning of how I was able to excel, not only on the military side, but on the civilian side.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of found that computers weren't my passion.
Right.
So I'm kind of strayed from that, but I still get a lot of phone calls and emails and, hey, come work for our company. You have a secret clearance, you have all this background in IT, you're a perfect fit, you have your degree now, like you can fit in this job position. But the traveling has kind of wore me out, I think, over the time. And so I know my daughter's like, I don't want to move anywhere, and I just want to stay in Idaho, and I just want to be here.
So when you accepted and you became that IT, I don't want to say professional, but I mean, I guess you were a pro at IT stuff. Did they keep you in Boise, or did they start moving you around?
So military side, since I was a reservist, they did keep me here
Okay.
for my position. So it's kind of how it started out with. I left for basic training, did my.
Where was basic? Fort Benning?
No, Fort Jackson.
Okay.
And then from Fort Jackson, I went to Fort Gordon.
Okay.
Where they have the Signal Corps, and that's where I got my advanced individual training (AIT) certificate or achievement.
How far? How many weeks together was all that?
Oh, long. So I want to say I left in May, and I didn't get home till December.
Oh. So what's going on with Sunny?
With her dad.
Oh my goodness! Were you just
Yeah.
a puddle?
Oh yeah, it was.
Because how old? She's probably 3 years old or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very.
Oh my gosh!
Very
Yeah,
difficult.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so it was hard, but I think ultimately it's made her super strong.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, after training, I came back to Boise, and that's kind of where I started back up again. I'm like, okay, so I'm still young. I had, 20, I think I was 21 at that time. Had just turned 21 that year, something like that. And so I was ready to find an IT job, and I was ready to get rolling. And so it's kind of where I came back and I started my, career path. And I was still in college, but at this point I'm like, okay, I'm still a single mom. I gotta, still go to college because I wanted to complete my degree, and I still want to be able to work a decent job. And so I did find a job over at HP doing IT work, so it was computer service or help desk support. And that's kind of where I branched off to. And then came a deployment in 2013, or it was 2012. They were looking for bodies.
Okay.
And
deploying to
Afghanistan.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And this was not a volunteer thing? Is it one where your name was called and you needed to go? Or?
It was volunteer.
Okay.
So they needed bodies, and I kept telling myself, like, okay, I need to earn my patch. I need to go save more money, because to me at the time, like, this would be perfect.
There's like a danger pay bonus or something, or
correct.
Yeah.
And so to me at the time, being that young, that was like really good money for me. And so I was like, okay, I went over and talked to the unit and said, hey, you guys need extra bodies. This is my background. These are my, this is my GT score. This is what I have to offer. What do you guys have available? And they said, oh, we have an 88 November position, which is a movement specialist or movement control specialist. And so pretty much dealing with air and ground movement. So helicopters, fixed wing, and then convoy movements and stuff. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And so that's when I started my journey in Afghanistan. It was my first deployment with the 949th here in Boise.
Had you ever traveled internationally before
Never.
that? Okay, so you never, had you ever traveled before basic? Had you ever really gone
Never.
anywhere? Okay,
I
so
was just
the Army's keeping its commitment to showing you the world.
Yes.
So you go to Afghanistan, and it's a whole new world, literally, right?
the first day we got there, I don't know how these people, I mean, they have informants, but they just knew that there was a new unit coming to town. And I remember the first day, their alarms were going off, and I'm confused, and everyone's like, get down. Our unit was, at this point, super freaked out, because we're getting hit by rockets, and all you hear along the building is just like rumbling from the explosions. And I remember our first sergeant was like, get on the ground. And so I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? What the heck was I thinking?
Right.
Maybe not those words, maybe worse.
Yeah.
But I'm
It's
underneath my
PG.
desk with my hands over my ears, like, oh my God, I hope
Get me
I
out
don't
of here.
die.
Get me out
Like,
of
what was
here.
I thinking? I'm so stupid. Why am I here? And so that was
Wow.
the first day, and I just, I had a lot
Of how many days? How long was your deployment supposed to be? Like
so
what?
9 months. And
Okay.
this is like the first.
This is a couple
days.
hours of,
Yeah.
of the first 9 months.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So I'm just like, in shock. Like, oh my God, I'm just so stupid. Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna end up getting hurt. Something's crazy, because the FOB was just getting attacked all the time. And at the time during that year, the Apaches were allowed to go and fight back. Go shoot wherever the point of origin was. And so things changed after a while, as far as rules of engagement.
The way that's allowed to happen.
Yeah. So, but it's just, I remember that's where my first deployment started, and after a while I got used to it. And so it just happens, like the mentality, and they say you become real complacent after a while, because then nothing happens and you're okay, and you just kind of
get into a rhythm.
You get into a rhythm, like,
yeah.
where you're not running to the bunker when there's an attack. So you're like, oh, it probably won't hit here. And so it was, some people took it real serious, where they were against a building. Some people were just like, okay, I'm just gonna
There we
walk.
go again. It's like a tornado warning,
And then,
the tornado's not gonna hit here.
Yeah, so then you had the conventional army, which was myself, and then you had the special forces guys, which you want to kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna be tough like them. I'm not gonna run from a mortar or a rocket coming in direct fire or anything. You're just like, I'm just gonna walk like nothing. And so that's kind of how the mentality became, where you just knew in your mind, like, they're not scared, so you shouldn't be scared to face, your fear of death. And so that's kind of how my journey was in Afghanistan, just working every day. And just I was a contracting officer representative, so I got to talk with the local on base who came onto base and lived off of base. And so I worked with him, because he let us use a truck of his, and we contracted, or leased out that truck. And so Afghanistan was really interesting. So I kind of, got to meet and network with all kinds of people. So that's kind of where going back was easy for me, because I met civilians who worked for the government. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break from the military. I'm going to come back and find a civilian job. And I did, with my qualifications, my IT background that the military gave me. I was able to find that position, and I went back overseas, and that's where I spent the next almost 3 years traveling back and forth.
So, okay, let me get this straight. So you finish your 9-month deployment.
Yes.
And then you come back to Boise, right? Now, you're still a reservist, or how does that, okay. So as a reservist, you can take a civilian job, because you gotta, just like you were with HP earlier.
Right.
So you take a civilian job. Now, when you're over there, do you have to step into your reservist shoes 1 weekend a month or anything like that? Or?
So I actually went, so I had 2 years IRR in my contract.
Okay.
So I had already committed 4 years, and I still owed the military 2 more years, but I decided to take my 2-year inactive time in between, so I could go back and make even more money. To pay off more of my debt.
Right.
And so for me, it was like a huge door opener. I was like, okay, I can buy a house now and pay off a car. And it was just, to me, it was like a huge opportunity to go back and work for the government side as a civilian.
A lot of stylists that are listening to this are working moms.
Yeah.
And so they are nodding the fact that you're making this sacrifice to better your life, your daughter's life, all this kind of stuff. And they're also listening to this going, I can't imagine being away. So describe to me what's going on as a mom who's that far away.
Soft spot.
I know. From your daughter, and what were you well, let's see, it was FaceTime a thing back then? I think it was. So you're FaceTiming or Skype calling when you can. missing some moments, obviously. How do you cope during that while I gotta keep doing this, I gotta keep our future in the front of my mind, but how'd you get through that?
It was extremely hard. There were times when I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this up because like my daughter needs me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I knew my ex was a really awesome father. He was amazing. He took really good care of my daughter, and I literally cannot thank him enough.
Had he told you, I got this, go do your thing, go crush it?
Oh yeah, he was super helpful. Whenever I would come back traveling, he had no rejections to when I could have her, how long I could have her.
Right.
You just work so well together, co-parenting, and
That's
that
amazing.
was amazing. That was super helpful because I know a lot of families are not like that after a separation. I know that it's hard to co-parent with somebody you just separated from. So it was hard being overseas, but I think the ability to Skype and have phone calls constantly was a super huge help. And when I was a contractor, I came home every 3 to 6 months for about 2 to 4 weeks, and so that really helped with my daughter.
Did it, as I'm thinking through this, because I travel a lot for work, right? So not in month chunks,
right?
Usually 3 to 4 days. So I'm thinking, like for me, I have to go home and obviously hit a reset button. Okay, now I'm back home again, and for a couple of weeks, not to get in that routine.
Yeah.
And then now I got to go travel again. So was there ever kind of this struggle, like coming home and now I don't want to go back, or did you always have kind of the goal in mind and just were able to compartmentalize?
So I think the biggest thing for me was like I kind of set my mind to like when I came home, like it was always hard to see my daughter and my mom and my dad and then to part ways, but inside, I guess for myself, I had a goal, and so I said, okay, each time I'm like, okay, only a couple more months, and then I come back home, and then the long end result was like, okay, I would max out 4 to 5 years of overseas time.
Yeah.
And once I paid off everything, I was set on coming home. I'm like, I'm never gonna do that again. But I think inside, I think my family knew I had a goal, so they were super supportive, and so
this wasn't gonna be forever. This was something that, and it wasn't like you were running away from something, right? You were running toward a future.
It was always nice too, because like I was able to help pay stuff off with my parents and stuff, and I was super helpful with my daughter's father. Like I just helped them out whenever I could, and so I was able to use my extra money that I had to help other people, and so that was also rewarding. So it was also rewarding, not just the sacrifice I made. And so I think I have no regrets doing it, and I probably would do it the same way, minus my accident. But I think
you say accident?
Yeah. So after
what happened?
So my last year of contracting,
what year is it?
2016.
Okay.
May. That's when I got hit with a mortar. Stand by.
So you are you in a vehicle?
No.
Okay.
I was actually asleep in my building.
Okay.
And the reason why I didn't hear the alarms was because the building had 2 AC units, and so it was super
It was
loud.
cranking. I sleep with a fan for that reason. I like the noise myself. I don't want to hear anything else. So I get that something can be loud and you're knocked out and asleep. So okay.
So I had a mortar land next to me. I won't go into too much detail.
Is it a building? Is it a tent? Like where are you in?
It's a wood building.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like a little cabin. A small cabin that you would separate.
Is it single person dwelling or is it a bunk?
So there's so it's like a cabin building, like a little hut kind of, you walk in and there's a hallway in the middle, and then there's 4 rooms on each side. So there's 4 on the left here, and then 4 on the right, and then mine was the second room towards the middle of the building.
Did you have any roommates in there with you?
No, so I actually was a coordinator for the night shift, so I worked nights.
Okay.
So it happened to hit during the day.
Okay.
And which was crazy because, so just a little bit of a background, the way the building's set up. What I was told was when the rocket had hit, it hit the top beam.
Okay.
And as soon as it hit the top beam, that's when it started exploding. And I don't know if you know much about rockets, but when they explode, they kind of have a rainbow effect. So when they hit from impact, when the point hits, it starts exploding like a
shrapnel
rainbow.
Goes kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so I was told that had it not hit that beam, I probably wouldn't be alive. So.
Because it would have been like a direct hit, or on
yeah,
you,
it would
the
have.
way the shrapnel would have fallen.
Where it would have hit on the impact, it would have put more shrapnel.
Did anybody in the building get mortally wounded, or?
I was the only one in the building.
Okay, because you were asleep, everyone, because you were the night, okay.
Right. And other people in the building had different jobs.
Right.
So I was one of, I'm gonna say 2 or 3 females that did what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So there weren't very many of us on base, and the rest were either doing logistics or, I'm gonna say, like cooking. So.
Was the whole building knocked just over?
No, it just, the entire roof was.
Okay.
Like the side where it hit was gone.
And what do you remember?
Well, I was knocked out. I guess they didn't find me from talking to people back then. They didn't find me right away when they cleared the building. Because I guess the door had swung open. And
it looked like someone had left?
Yeah, so
right.
I guess I was kind of like behind the door, and there was wood pieces everywhere. Everything was kind of like blown everywhere. As far as like the stuff on my shelves, my TV was right over my head, but that only had shrapnel in it. It was just really crazy, like thinking about it, because sorry, I'm like trying to focus. It's
You're
really hard.
good. I'm just we're on your
it's
time
like it's
here.
still fresh.
Yeah.
But my laptop was actually open because I was watching Game of Thrones, because I was like on this binge of Game of Thrones, and from what I was told from people who assessed, like the infantry guys and stuff who assessed my room, they think my laptop saved my life too, because there was shrapnel in that, and it was open
like
from when I fell asleep.
Wow.
But from the blast, I guess it had, because, sorry, I'm like all over the place, it's so hard to think about it. From the blast, it had blown me off my bed, so that also saved me, like in a sense of shrapnel hitting my body, but it also caused me to have a brain injury, which I'm so thankful I came back from. I haven't talked about the story in a while in detail, so it's kind of like touching old wounds.
Right. You had
sorry.
No, there's nothing to apologize for. I'm sorry you went through that.
Fine. It's fine.
You get found and you wake up. Where do you wake up? You wake up in the hospital, or you wake up with them rescuing you?
No one actually found me. I woke up on the ground, and I just can remember. I had just a really foggy cloud over my eyes. Everything looked so blurry, and I normally don't get this emotional, but I never go into
Well, it's because, you know why? It's because we didn't, because I said, hey, you want to have a box of Kleenex ready? And you're like, no, it's fine. I'm going to be all right.
I don't talk to strangers about this, and not that you're a stranger.
No.
We've been talking for a while, but.
But usually this you don't go into detail about this kind of stuff, because everyone that knows you knows the story, and asserted?
I don't even think I've told anyone close to me details like this. My husband sometimes will talk about it, but he just, makes sure he checks up on me. But, because sometimes in aftermath of that, like I was waking up and having these crazy, like, it was so weird because I don't want to downplay PTSD, but I always told myself, like, oh, it's war, this is normal, this is what happens in a war zone. And I wouldn't necessarily downplay PTSD, but I'd be like, oh,
you would dismiss
like,
it, that it wasn't
like I didn't
what you were
believe
having.
it was a real thing.
Right.
I always thought, well, it's just for somebody who's, maybe like going through like some other things that are interacting with PTSD. But I would wake up after my accident, before I even met my husband, and I was having these crazy nightmares. Like, it was insane, and I never thought they would happen to me. I was such a strong person,
Obviously,
mentally and physically, and
to even be there and make all the decisions you had made at that point in your life. Showed how strong you were.
After my accident, I just never put myself in a position where I thought this would happen. And so, they didn't find me right away. I get up, and I just remember everything being so foggy. And then when I came out of the building,
the attack was over at that point, obviously.
I had been in there for a while, and I think they had still been assessing everything, and people were still bunkered down. But I just remember people running towards me, like, I was confused. I didn't know what was going on.
Are you bleeding, or are you just because you've been knocked?
No, luckily I didn't get hit by shrapnel, and I know it sounds really crazy, but I had a friend kill himself after he got back from Iraq because he saw a lot of bad stuff.
Right.
And then 2 people who were close to me also died. So part of me felt like, and I'm very religious, and so part of me felt like they were watching over me in a sense.
Oh yeah, like angel. I mean, you just described all the little things that had to have happened. Hit the beam, your laptop was open, TV above your, like all these things, thrown off the bed, like all these things that had to line up just perfectly for you not to be killed. Yeah, definitely someone looking out for you.
It was very, I don't know, the doctors that I came to here in Boise were very shocked, and that's okay, just dab. They were actually very surprised when they found out what happened. And
what did they diagnose you with?
So I had a brain injury, and then I had my shoulder injury from whatever I hit. Maybe I landed on something. I torn my bicep tendon, and then I have some hearing loss in my left ear. And then I had a neck injury. But I just luckily went through. Sorry, I have to put my thoughts together and just reorganize myself, because I didn't picture myself coming into this that I was gonna have like some tears or ducts coming flowing. So
hey, you're not the first person to have cried on the Sport Clips Hall of Fame podcast. You're the first one that didn't have Kleenex ready.
It's okay. I try to.
Good. You're so strong. I know you're so strong.
I'm like, I'm still in the military. I can't cry.
Right. No.
Tears,
we'll try to edit all the tears out so that all your buddies can.
It's alright.
No. Hey, this is life. This is real life, and the fact that you had something that impacted you so traumatically, and even as strong as you were. I mean, of course, heroes get hurt. This is not science fiction. This is reality. So
I think for me though, just having a lot of close friends who've been through similar things.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of feel like as a female, it's easier to cry because it's a norm for females to cry, and I think it's kind of like for men, it's a little more not acceptable.
They don't want to be vulnerable, or they got to be tough on the exterior.
So, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well,
but
I cried today when I saw these cute little kids at this store that we were at.
Yeah.
And my kids are now 15, 13, and 11.
Oh.
And the boy, on the way out, he couldn't have been 3 years old. In fact, on Facebook, go on Facebook, my Facebook feed today, and see the picture of the little boy and the little girl. On the way out, the little boy says to his daddy, who's just gotten a haircut, "I love your haircut, Daddy. That's a nice haircut." And it just made me remember like when my kids were that small, and the fact that they're now teenagers and they're never gonna be. And so I got teary-eyed thinking, oh my, and here I'm away from my family, or whatever. So anyways, and I'm not a baby, so no, this is what humans do. We process emotions, and experiences that have been life-altering, like what you suffered and went through, and survived. And so that's obviously the important thing, that you survived it.
Right.
What's your recovery been like?
So after my accident, I did 2 years of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
I went through.
You're all stateside, or was there some there?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to come home. They offered to take me to Dubai and get treatment there, but I was really, I think, broken down at that point. It had only been a couple days in, and I think I was still in shock. I was still pretty shell-shocked that what was going on, and a lot of my coworkers were like, "You don't look good at all." They had me in the clinic, and they said, you need to go home and get treatment at home with your family. And I was like, okay.
I bet mom and dad were, or Sonny were definitely wanted you to come home too, so.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to tell my daughter what had happened until I got home, because she was at that time,
2016, 11? So 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah, and so I remember I talked to my mom. She didn't want to tell her, because we just wanted her to be able to process it while I was home. So she.
Did you have any visible wounds by the time you got home?
Other than
your arm, shoulder in a sling, or?
No, not at that point.
Okay.
I just had
swelling was down.
I had a really poofy face.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of looked different. And, my mom just tells me to this day, like, you've come so far. She just knows. She's seen me back then, and I was so dazed and confused after I got home, and my brother drove me around, and because the doctor's like, don't drive, you're not driving, and I hadn't drove, but my parents met me at the airport, picked me up, and I came home, and they took me straight to the St. Luke's so I could get it reassessed, and like, brain injury, we're going to send you the brain injury program right away. And at that time, they hadn't quite figured out what was going on in the head and neck, because they knew it was something, but I think they were more focused on the brain and getting treatment for that. And I went through, I just remember weeks and weeks and multiple appointments going through speech therapy, hearing imbalance. There was a couple others, I can't recall what they called them, but I just had memory problems. I couldn't really put my senses together. It's really weird.
Did you know something was off, or were people telling you you're not right?
A little bit of both. I was having a hard time remembering things. I would literally grab something, and I couldn't remember if I had what I was doing with it, and so my mom could tell you stories for days, because she reminds me of all the kookiness I did, because I just couldn't think right. And as far
she's
as
you get that from your father, so.
No, she knew I was a pretty sharp person, and so I just couldn't remember if I had washed my hair. I'd sit there like in the shower. Did I just wash my hair? I couldn't remember, and I'd have to repeat things because I couldn't remember. And it's just phenomenal how far I've come from a brain injury, and I never realized the extent of a brain injury until I actually had gone through one myself. And like I said, I always found myself to be a super strong person, and so this was a really hard time in my life. And and I think my counselor, who was awesome, he's the greatest person ever, pulled me through a lot of dark moments in my life. Because my life had changed completely. At this point, I'm like, okay, like what's next? Like I had no idea what I was gonna do with my life. I'm like,
you definitely didn't want to go back to Afghanistan,
No,
right? That was
no.
off the table.
And so at that point, those 2 years of recovery through the brain injury program and surgery, I don't know if I mentioned surgery to fix my bicep tendon, and just throughout the process, just everything that's happened, I mean, I never knew what I was going to do, and so those 2 years really were hard for me. They really were. I just felt like everything was taken from me, and I felt like, I don't know, I can't really describe it. I just was not the same person that I was before the accident. I used to be maybe a little egotistic with a mixture of,
Well, because you're so confident. You're strong, and
right.
And you recognize that. It's not that you were arrogant, but it's just you knew who you were, and you weren't bashful about it.
I worked so hard, and so I guess at that point, there's just a lot that I struggled with. I felt like I lost confidence in myself. I felt ugly. I felt different. I just didn't feel like I blended in with anybody anymore.
How were things with Sunny at that time?
So my daughter was still at school with her dad full time. I left her with him full time because I didn't want her to be exposed to my treatments. As far as like, I couldn't go outside. I had to be away from the sun. I had to be away from noise. I had to be in a quiet room to help my brain heal.
Were you getting migraines or anything during this time?
Oh yeah, I had really major really bad migraines, to the point where I was on these medications. I was actually on different medications for a lot of things. My first night home, I didn't sleep. I stayed up for almost 2 days, and the doctor had to prescribe me medicine to sleep, and it was a really rough time. I can't even believe it happened sometimes.
Did
my
I dream
husband
that?
tells me my mom and my dad and my daughter did see some of it, and they're just.
Did you not know your husband at the time?
I did not.
All this happened? Okay.
No.
And we can talk about that later.
So he didn't really know me in my bad days. Luckily, he met me when I was at the end of my healing. And I can't ever say people fully heal from injuries like this, but I think you learn to cope.
New normal,
and you
kind of.
You learn to kind of
survive.
Not necessarily get over, but you learn how to just deal with the bad and move forward. And I think that was the biggest struggle with me, is I couldn't accept that I was different now, and I couldn't accept that I had a new journey. But I knew in my head after a while, once I got better, that just God had a different journey for me lined up.
When did you feel you got better? Like, was there a date where you can point to and say,
no.
All right, or was there a slow culmination of, and that was October 2019,
No.
right? So where did the healing kind of really culminate?
I want to say my husband helped me out a lot. I wouldn't say I was fully healed, but I still had really bad. I couldn't sleep. And to this day, my sleeping is a little bit better, but everyone thinks I'm crazy because I can go to sleep at 12 at night and wake up at 4 or 5, sleep a few hours and I can talk now. And I can still go on about my day, but then sometimes I can feel my body telling me you need to rest.
Yeah.
But I just can never get on a normal sleeping schedule after that. And sometimes I'll still get a random nightmare here or there, I'm dying, not supposed to wake up.
Right.
And so.
And whether the panic sets in.
And it's really hard. And it takes me back to that moment where I'm waking up, and, fighting for my life.
Yeah.
I'm in a war zone, and I can't take credit. I know so many infantry friends who've done so much and gone outside the wire, and so for me, I'm a lot of times incident, because not nearly as bad as some other people.
Yeah,
And
that's not fair to you or to them. No.
Yeah, and so sometimes I tell myself, like, okay, I gotta be strong. I gotta get through this, you know. They've been through so much worse, and mine is nothing compared to theirs, and it's hard, and so I just, you know, like my husband and my daughter and my mom, my entire family, I think, really brought me back to life, including my counselor, who I probably won't mention his name, but he's a great guy, but in here in Boise, and without him, I think ultimately, like,
things would be different.
Would be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because I think ultimately it was the PTSD and the fact that I was different. I felt like I talked different. I felt like my brain functioned differently, and I just felt really, really different. And so, for me to come this far in life, really, really is, it's a blessing.
It's an incredible survival story, and we haven't even got. I mean, that was the where you've been.
Yeah.
Now let's talk where you at. So, what did you survived all that for? What? Where are we right now? What's going on?
So I finished out my last year at Boise State, which was great. It was a great accomplishment. I took the LSAT and I scored very well, and I was going to go to law school, but I wasn't mentally ready for that quite yet, that challenge, and so I took a break and I decided to go to cosmetology school.
And that's the, I don't know, you've had an incredible story to this point, but that's the part where I'm shocked if I'm listening to this for the first time.
Yeah.
All of that you survived, and you've somehow now, how do you find cosmetology school? Had it been kind of a secret passion, or had you always cut somebody's hair and so what happened?
Actually, I was kind of intrigued with lashing at first, is where it started.
Okay.
My girlfriend was doing lashing, my best friend
Latasha, okay, another shout out to her.
Yeah, she was doing lashing, and I didn't even tell you the rest of the story of the best friend, but long story short, she didn't complete individual training.
What?
So the one friend that convinced
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, she's on my list right now.
So
I'm gonna
I
look
love
her up.
She got injured during basic from running. She didn't know she had a hip injury.
Okay.
Anyhow.
Well, but she gets you to this.
So so lashing. She was doing
she's
lashing.
Back on my good side, by the way.
Yes, and so I got intrigued and decided to take a lash course with a salon over here in Boise, and I was really intrigued by it, and I just found it very therapeutic to do lashing. And so I was looking into, opening up like a small little booth or some kind of like renting a room to do lashing, and the girl that taught me the lashing course was informing me that there was supposed to be this law in Idaho where you had to have a license to lash. And so I was like, okay, I'm taking a break from school. I should just go get my aesthetics license. And I went down to Paul Mitchell, and I was, letting him know what I was interested in. And the guy down there, Ryan, was like, if you're gonna, get your esthetician license, you might as well go full out and do your cosmetology license. And I said, really? You think so? Like me, cut hair?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you'll learn how to cut hair, color, you can do everything you want. Really? So I went back home to my husband. I was like, what do you think? And he's just typical guy. Do whatever makes you happy. Whatever is gonna make you feel good.
Happy wife,
I
happy
support
life,
you with whatever you decide. And I was like, okay. So it took me a while to try to figure out. I was back and forth with what I wanted to do. Like, what, this is not the industry I ever saw myself in. Only because I was like, it's more of a like girly girl industry, me coming from the military and having an IT background.
You'd be surprised.
So I just
stylists are former military.
Right, and I never knew that, and so it was great because I decided to choose Paul Mitchell, and I kind of did some researching around the area, and I found that Paul Mitchell just kind of was more, I don't know how to describe it. They were just down to earth. They felt like they're more grounded for me as far as fitting in, and so I decided to do Paul Mitchell. And I remember getting there, and super nervous.
When is this?
Gosh.
Last year, 2018?
Oh no, Paul Mitchell. I just started in April.
Okay,
End of
alright.
April, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is this year, 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was super nervous, and everybody had to do an introduction and introduce yourselves. I'm like, how am I gonna learn this? Okay. How am I gonna introduce myself? Because I am not the same as these girls. We're just getting out of high school, and then some of them are, salon owners, and so it was very intimidating. And then it was actually nice because at the end of it, I met a really good person. Her name's Ruby. She owns a salon here in Mountain Home, and I was able to meet other great people and network with so many people. And it's just crazy because I find that cutting hair is actually really therapeutic for me. It's really relaxing, and it's.
What is it? Is it the cutting or the talking?
I would say more it's like the service itself.
Okay.
I never envisioned myself doing services for other people, but I find it very therapeutic.
Yep.
And it's relaxing for me, and so I just thought it was great. And I've been there, and they're very supportive, and it's okay to cry there, and it's okay to
right.
hug, and outside the military, and I'm not being this tough person.
Yeah.
I have this other side where I can
Vulnerable.
lean on these people and still have support, and it's been great. It's been a really good journey.
Back to the Help a Hero scholarship.
Yeah.
Like what kicked this whole podcast off. You received a Help a Hero scholarship. You're using those funds for Paul Mitchell Cosmetology School, right?
Yes.
So quickly, how'd you hear about the scholarship? How'd you win it? I mean, what'd you do right? Like what happened?
Exactly. I'm still wondering what I did right. I'm so confused. I was very blessed when I found out I got the scholarship. But Ryan, who helps over in the admissions department at Paul Mitchell, sent me a link of scholarships. And so I remember telling another former veteran about it. I kept telling her, we got to apply to the scholarship together. It's so cool. Just see what happens. And I didn't know how much to tell, and I didn't have a whole in the biography part. I can't talk today. As far as it goes from
I remember.
describing who I am. Yeah, it was really hard because I didn't know what to put in there or what not to put in there. And so I was telling my friend over at Paul Mitchell, I just don't know what to put in here because I don't know if it's too much or too little or too big. I just put it out what was true and what I knew to be true of myself and what I was looking for, and what I wanted to do. I wanted, to help other veterans like myself. I wanted to, share my story with other veterans, but mostly I wanted to give back to the veteran community, and that's why I know going forward, one of the biggest things I'm going to do is give free haircuts to veterans. And that's what I want to do. And
which, by the way, we do at Sport Clips on Veterans Day as part of our Help a Hero time period. So that's, when you're licensed, you can maybe come pitch in and help us. So you got the scholar. Oh, how did you find out? By the way, what happened? What was that day like? What happened?
When I actually found out I got the scholarship.
you submitted it, you turned it in, and then what? You hear the next day? Was it a month?
It took, I don't remember exactly how many months, but
Have you forgotten about it at
I
some
actually
point?
did kind of forget. I figured I'd hear about it when I did because I got some inquiries back from other scholarships, and they're like, no, you didn't get selected. So I'm like, oh dang.
Denied.
Yeah. So that was a little sad, and then I got an email and it said that I had been selected and I would hear later on, and I thought, wow, that is so cool. Really, me? And I just thought to myself, I wonder if I did get it or how I got it or who I competed against that I beat, because to myself, what I say to myself internally is there's so much competition out there, so many veterans with their own stories and their own background, and so it was just really excited at the same time, a little confused, but more excited than confused.
So who notified you? Was it
I don't recall.
Somebody from Paul Mitchell or somebody from Sport Clips?
Sports Clips.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I got a Sports Clips email and a VFW email, and then Sports Clips randomly. Well, they told me they were coming.
Yeah.
Crazy stories. I was hoping they would prep me to let me know what day they were coming because I wanted to look super.
You looked
cute.
You looked like you were cut from the military. I mean, you had your uniform on, your hair was
Yeah,
back.
so
Well, and that's why I didn't recognize you today, because I got
well,
this like Hollywood actress walking through the lobby,
yeah.
and I was
So just
expecting you to be in your uniform.
yeah, it was very surprising because actually that day that they came to give the check to
Giant
me,
check, yeah.
yeah, they were the day before they said, okay, tomorrow we're dressing up as superheroes.
Mhm.
And so I told my husband, like, what should I dress up as? He's like, dress up as Captain Marvel, wear my flight suit. And so I was a little confused, like when they came in, and I dressed
So it was
up in
rigged.
a flight suit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
Was he in on it?
No,
Or-
he had no
So
idea.
you could have been at like Wonder Woman costume.
I could have been
and that would have
something
been the picture
crazy,
that went
and,
out.
yeah.
By the way, I just did a convention yesterday and showed that picture like to Facebook and Google
Yeah.
and Amazon and Microsoft were there, like all these people. So it had
Oh.
it had it been the Wonder Woman one, that would have been awesome too.
Yeah, so I was kind of embarrassed but happy at the same time. Just super, super excited though. I was very blessed and I was super thankful.
And the reason that we wanted to capture your story, not just to hear about your incredible triumph and survive and advance instincts, but to kind of tie in the fact that we have this Help a Hero scholarship for heroes like you, and all the stylists, all the stores across the country that are raising funds for it. You're the kind of person that we're looking for, and the fact that you've triumphed, and the fact that you have this daughter that you've sacrificed for, and this life that you continue to fight and live, and that we're able to help in some, I don't know if it's small or big way, but in some way, and contribute to a better life for you, is pretty incredible. So I definitely wanted. Now you've got, first of all, you got today, and if those watching on YouTube, hello. You can see we've got it's not a prop, it's actually some wall, what are these, clippers?
Yes.
The 100-year clippers that Duke Sorensen, one of my favorite buddies, one of my BFFs at Sport Clips, the AD for Utah and Idaho, he flew in from Salt Lake City to meet you today and present you with some Sport Clip swag, but really for these amazing clippers that I think you said you're going to take to school tomorrow.
Yeah, I am. Yes.
Show off. But what is next? What's next on your horizon? And then I got I told you I had 3 questions to end this. So what's coming up next for you?
So I invested into a salon.
Okay.
So,
what? Awesome.
Yeah. So as soon as I'm done with school, I'm gonna go start working in the salon.
Oh, incredible.
Along my journey, I've invested in taking other courses, so I specialize in hair extensions. And I just really am trying to wrap myself around the beauty industry and get involved. And after this, I plan on working at the salon and then helping other people like myself. And I enjoy just helping people. I think that's the biggest thing, is I find that like cutting hair is not only therapeutic, but making people look beautiful.
Yes.
It's amazing to me.
Is.
It's just,
and every stylist listening to this is nodding their head right now. Yeah, we get it, girl.
Yeah.
And
so
we feel you. Yeah.
Other girls that are at my school are always confused. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, come work with me. And come, I'm always open arms to anybody.
I hope at some point we partner with you, or we do something for veterans. Like, we got to make sure to stay connected.
Yes.
And when we do events, maybe not even just with veterans, but anything like with St. Baldrick's or any of our other charitable stuff, we want to make sure that you stay plugged in.
Yes.
You're part of the Sport Clips family. So whether you like us or not, you're
that.
ride or die with us. Okay. Can I ask my 3 final questions? Because I kept you a half hour longer than I said I would. So
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I had a long story.
An amazing story. So 3 questions. Oh, and before I get there, so everybody, the Help a Hero Scholarship, October 14th and November 11th. Do what you can to raise funds for Help a Hero, because it is literally women like this that the scholarship benefits, and she has turned her life into this amazing story, this epic adventure, and we've fortunately been able to be a small part of it, but think of the impact she's going to have for the next, I don't know, you're 30, sure,
31.
years old. I'm going to say 30.
I'm getting up.
So next 7 decades of your life, you're going to have such an impact, and for us to be a little part of your story is pretty incredible. So Help a Hero, make sure everybody gets involved, raise funds. I'm asking every store to do $1,000 to raise $1,000 this year.
Awesome.
So we'll see. Maybe we can get $1.8 million. Okay, 3 questions. All right. Question number 1. When they make a movie based on the story of your life, what actress do you want to play the lead role? You.
Oh, an actress. Oh, I'm trying to think of her name.
Where's she from?
She's a Hispanic actress, and she just played on that new movie where she goes to Mexico. Miss something. Miss Bala?
I don't know, but I
can't remember.
That's who you want? So, okay, if I figure it out and I can supplement it in here, or after we talk, I can always edit it who it is. Okay. Number 2, this is an important question.
Okay.
There's going to be a soundtrack for this movie.
Okay.
What band or musician are you picking to be the soundtrack for your movie?
Oh, I love J-Lo.
Okay.
And she's awesome.
She could also kind of be the lead character, the older version of you.
Yeah, she's been playing.
Yeah.
She's made a movie that was interesting.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, okay, Lord. Not. You won't take Sunny to see that movie. Let's be honest. Okay. And then the third question.
Okay.
What are we going to call the movie?
Oh.
What should we title it?
Well, in Afghanistan, they always called me. My buddy always said I was the J-Lo of Afghanistan.
Okay. Oh, look at that. See. And I said Jenny from the block, and you looked at me like I was, crazy when I said that. So you are okay. J-Lo from Afghanistan. Yeah. It's gotta be J-Lo. That's who's gotta be who plays you, for sure. And she'll do the soundtrack. It'll be J-Lo from Afghanistan.
She'd be cheap. Cheap movie.
So. That's how I wanted to end it. I wanted you to get a chance to smile after walking through that story. But thank you for everything. Thank you for being available for us.
Appreciate it.
For your service.
Thank you too.
This is why we do what we do on this side of things at Sport Clips. We love our veterans and love to get a chance to sit down and sit with you. So thank you so much. Thanks everybody for listening. I can't promise that next week's episode will be as gripping, but we will do our best to entertain and inform. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks. Good job. You were awesome. You were awesome. Way to go. I'm sorry. I should have convinced you to have